Okay, so any questions? This is a really complex issue, and you talked about this. I mean, that's why it's hard to communicate about it, because it is one of the most complex issues of modern medicine. So do you have any advice on how to effectively communicate about antibiotic resistance?
Yeah,
the mic should be on right there. Did you get it? Okay.
One of the things that we found effective...
Hang on one. Okay, go ahead. If Leah wouldn't have mic dropped, it would probably work.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
One of the things that we found effective, thank you. It's good to have somebody much younger than I am who understands technology.
And that's a compliment.
I'll take it.
One of the things that we found very effective is to communicate with people where they're at and not make assumptions about what their knowledge base is, and to use numbers the right way. Doctors have always thrown too many numbers at people. They've always tried to reproduce their scientific publications. The key is to find simple numbers, simple concepts, and understand what you're trying to communicate. It's basic. I know to an audience like this, it's basic communications. But I'll tell you, to a scientific group of scientists or a group of public health people, that's a foreign language. If you don't give them all 12 pages of their scientific article, they'll accuse you of, being a, fool who's just trying to make trouble. So it's a challenge, but simple messages and know what you're trying to communicate.
Anyone want to add to that?
Well, I would just add by saying don't assume they're talking about it. Like what we've learned at Elanco is that it's the science community and the activist community that's talking about it. So sometimes we go and talk about something, antibiotics resistance, to an audience that doesn't even know there's an antibiotic resistance problem that's caused by livestock, or being blamed on livestock. So, some people are sitting there just fine. So we don't want to, sometimes I have to hold people back because they literally want to throw gasoline on a smoldering fire that's about to go out, depending on the audience. So talk to the right people would be also what I would say.
Okay, any questions in the audience? Dan, many activist groups are attacking the environmental impact of animal agriculture. We see this daily. So what's the most effective way to counter that messaging that we often hear?
Well, I think that it's the truth is the best way to, one thing that we have to do constantly in agriculture is just be brutally honest with ourselves and brutally honest with whoever's asking the question. I think it's the simplest way to bring it forward. And if people want to be unethical or immoral, that's their decision, and at that point in time, the truth will be sought out at some time. But whether it's, we've been through it, just pick a topic. When we went through the Jack in the Box, I've been in food safety research, in animal welfare research, and the sustainability research, the antibiotic resistance. The one thing that I would say is that for every complex problem, there's a simple solution, and it's wrong. And so, that's what we have to keep in mind. But just keep the conversation open and just tell the truth.
Okay, to wrap things up then, we've been talking about action today. So what's one action item, or, what advice do you have for those of us in the room? What's the takeaway? What's the take-home message? Each of you.
Oh, so you want me to start? I would say my action for all of you would be participate in the conversation, but know who you're talking to. So, I'm on purpose, I have 2 Twitter handles, because there are some people that follow me because I blog about food and drinking that don't really care about antibiotic resistance or government policy. So know your audience and put yourself out there. The reason I really wanted to highlight, we need more scientists in agriculture talking about AMR. And they're just not getting on social media and being part of the conversation. So I would say take a step, pick a platform, know your audience.
I think that when it comes to sustainability and agriculture, is understand that it's not, I think it's just like what Steve said about antimicrobial resistance. We are where we're at, and we need to understand or predict or model where we're going. And so don't point fingers, don't condemn, but don't market it. I mean, the thing that I have a hard time with is I heard people say when we're going through the animal welfare, I'd hear everybody say, now you beef guys don't go running off without us because we're all in this together on welfare. Okay? Well, then I just hear today that poultry is owning the antibiotic talk. I thought we were all in this together. And so we have to understand that each commodity, even though that we are all in this together, we are competing against each other. And the differences in the way commodity groups come across, and all of a sudden poultry says, well, we're not using antibiotics in broilers. And then you walk into a McDonald's restaurant or a Burger King and there are poultry products and beef products on the menu. There's competition immediately between each other. And so, you know, we don't want to leave each other behind, but understand that there is some good, healthy competition.
I think one thing that's useful from a public health standpoint is that work at the state level. States are much closer to their populations, and now every state's different, but there are some states that already have really good programs linking the medical community, the veterinary community, the agriculture commissioner. Minnesota is one that I happen to know about, but I'm sure there are others. And I think working at the state level and even at the county level with the local medical society and the local vet society is probably a stronger move than trying to work with my good friends at the federal government. So I think county and state, you know, go local. That's what we keep saying. And I think having an impact is going to be easier at that level to try and bring people together and have positive conversations.
Let's give this panel a round of applause.